After my son passed away, one day I became estranged from my daughter-in-law and granddaughter. I couldn't believe my eyes. On a snowy winter evening, my granddaughter was trembling alone in the yard. In a panic, I rushed her into the bath.
The bath isn't warm.
My husband and I were furious at what had happened. My name is Sophia. I am a 65-year-old housewife who feels the effects of aging. My 67-year-old husband has thinning hair and has taken up scalp care as a hobby since retiring. I'm not sure if I can call it a hobby, but he seems to be enjoying it, so I leave him be. We had one son, Benjamin. Raising him was tough, and we felt a great loneliness when our well-raised son left the nest. He got married at 28 and was living happily with his children when he tragically passed away in an accident at 35. It was a sudden and shocking departure. At the funeral, our spirits were lifted by our young granddaughter, Emma.
Grandma, are you okay?
Though only 5 years old, she seemed to vaguely understand her father's absence, her eyes swollen with tears. I held her tightly and resolved to protect this child, the last memento of my son, no matter what. My daughter-in-law, Isabella, remained composed. She might have been crying behind the scenes, but I never knew. I just couldn't get along with her. Even when she visited our home with her family, there was hardly any conversation. She'd just fiddle with her phone alone. Her habit of ignoring us made me uneasy at times. But I figured it was the sign of the times and resigned myself to it. I didn't want to strain the relationship between us and our son's family by saying too much. I couldn't recall having a decent conversation with her. But life alone would surely be tough for her from now on. After the funeral, I said to her, "If you ever need help, just let us know." Isabella, 32, had lost her parents early and had no siblings. It must have been tough not having her parents home to rely on. I worried that she would avoid contact with us after my son's passing. But with a granddaughter in the picture, we couldn't just turn a blind eye. No matter who she was the woman my son loved and married. It was only natural for me to want to help. But Isabella responded coldly.
"I'm fine. I don't need your help. I can manage on my own."
But what about Emma?
"Emma will be fine. Are you suggesting I'm after my husband's inheritance?"
No, of course not. My son's inheritance is crucial for your livelihood. Then stay out of it. This lack of friendliness left me feeling deeply regretful about my concerns. My son's house is a 10-minute bus ride from ours. Not too far, but not exactly close either. Both my husband and I are unemployed and have time on our hands, so we'd gladly help with household chores or childcare if needed. But, fearing it would be a nuisance to intrude without being asked, we didn't visit for 6 months after our son's passing. When I finally mustered the courage to contact her, she reluctantly answered the phone. "Isabella, it's been a while. How have you been?"
"I'm busy with work and childcare."
Her sudden stern tone nearly discouraged me. But I gathered my courage and asked what I wanted to know. "Is Emma doing well? If it's too much, I can take care of her occasionally."
"Then take her next weekend."
Really?" I was taken aback by her request and then abruptly hung up. I guess she only wants to talk about business. Oh well, I'm looking forward to seeing my granddaughter after so long. I'll eagerly await the weekend. And on the weekend, Emma came with Isabella. Welcome, both of you. It's been a while. Come on in.
Oh, I have work now. So I'll leave. I'll pick up Emma tonight.
With just those words, she left. Working on a Sunday must be tough. Emma chimed in.
It's not work.
With a downcast expression, I asked what was wrong.
Mom isn't working. She's always out having fun.
What? Always? I thought she had a job.
Mom seems to work part-time while Emma's at kindergarten, but most of the time, she's just playing. The other day, she smelled like alcohol when she came to pick me up from kindergarten.
What? Working at night with alcohol might be one thing, but kindergarten pickup is in the evening. So, drinking during the day doesn't seem like work.
When we got home, there were empty alcohol cans everywhere.
What? Drinking during the day? Maybe she's still grappling with the shock of losing her son. I felt regret for not supporting her more. But before I could dwell on it, Emma said,
There was a strange man, but he left when he saw Emma.
What? Does that mean Isabella was drinking with some man at home? It's been 6 months since my son passed away. Well, if she's quick to move on, it's not surprising if she's found a new lover. She's still young, after all. As long as she doesn't upset my granddaughter, I guess anything goes. But clearly, my granddaughter looks unhappy.
Because of that man, Mom. No, Mom never did anything from the start. She never did any housework, even when Dad was alive.
What? I was surprised to hear this for the first time. I'd never heard anything like that from my son. Mom, you never did anything?
Yeah. Dad always did the cleaning, laundry, and everything when Dad came home from work. He'd buy or make dinner for us.
What? Was that so? Perhaps my son's marriage was already falling apart. Was my granddaughter the only thing keeping them together? Now, I can't ask my son for the truth, and Isabella probably won't tell me. I see. Hey, Emma.
What, Grandma?
If you ever have any trouble, tell Grandma anything. I'll help you anytime.
Okay.
My heart swelled with tears as my granddaughter, who had seemed lonely in the presence of her mother, now smiled happily. However, I never got to see my granddaughter again after that. Because I couldn't reach Isabella. She occasionally picked up the phone, but always with an annoyed attitude.
Both Emma and I are doing well. So please leave us alone.
And she hung up. I refrained from visiting out of consideration, and before I knew it, 2.5 years had passed. It had been 3 years since my son passed away. During that time, my granddaughter entered elementary school. I sent her a congratulatory gift, and in return, I received a photo from her entrance ceremony. In the photo, my granddaughter wore a backpack, smiling shyly. I was glad she looked well, but something about it bothered me.
She seems embarrassed or nervous. She looks complex.
Certainly. Starting school must bring a mix of expectations and anxieties, so it's natural to look complex. But it seems a bit different. Unable to pinpoint the source of discomfort, 3 years have passed since my son's passing. Becoming increasingly worried, I finally reached Isabella on the phone. can I meet Emma?
I told you, I'm busy.
We'll come to pick her up for the weekend, even just for a sleepover.
Emma is already 8 years old. She doesn't need that. Can you please stop contacting us? It's annoying.
She hung up again with her usual cold response. My anxiety grew even larger. Is my granddaughter okay? Is she having a good time? With her attitude, I can't imagine a happy situation. Hey, would you like to go meet them once? Even if it inconveniences her, I'll leave right away if I see her looking well. So when I suggested this to my husband, he nodded and said, sure. He is reserved, but I know he's worried about our granddaughter deep down. Because we're a couple. Maybe my son's marriage wasn't like that. Thinking about it makes me lonely. Glancing at the photo of my son in the room, I decided to visit Isabella's place next weekend. However, we ended up reuniting with our granddaughter before the weekend arrived. It's getting cold tonight, I said, shivering as I looked outside the window. It feels closer when it's cold. I turned on the heating and headed to the hallway towards the bathroom. As I glanced outside from the glass door facing the garden. What? I exclaimed loudly and opened the glass door. In the snowy yard, I saw a figure that shouldn't be there. And it was a very small child-sized figure. Despite it being nighttime, seeing the child standing in the bright snowy yard, I hurriedly put on sandals and rushed over. Emma? Yes, it was indeed my granddaughter Emma. I hadn't seen her in over 2 years. She had grown taller but was very thin. What's wrong? Did something happen? Why didn't you ring the doorbell? What would you have planned if I hadn't noticed you? I started to scold, but there was no time for that. I quickly took off my coat. Oh, you're freezing. How long have you been out here? Come inside. That's good. Go take a bath.
Okay.
My granddaughter, trembling uncontrollably, nodded with chattering teeth. In this difficult situation where the conversation was difficult, tears threatened to well up, but I brought her inside to warm her up.
Huh, Emma?
My husband, who had just finished bathing, looked surprised at our granddaughter. Quickly, get a towel and change your clothes.
Sure.
Even if he didn't understand the situation, he must have realized it was serious. He hurriedly ran off. We had spare clothes for when Emma stayed over. But considering they were prepared a while ago, they might be a bit small, but it was better than nothing. Now, go ahead and take a bath. Can you manage alone? The changing room was warm from him having just been there. She visibly relaxed as she nodded and went into the bathroom. I can't believe it. No other words came out. The clothes my granddaughter wore were tattered and dirty. And they were too small. After she finished her bath, I had warm milk ready for her. After a while, when she came out of the bath, her complexion looked better, and I felt relieved.
Thank you, Grandma, Grandpa. I got scared.
It was Grandma who was surprised. You came so suddenly. What surprised Emma?
The bath isn't cold, Grandma.
Huh? What is she talking about? The bath isn't cold? Well, of course not. Cold baths. They might have cold water in public baths next to saunas. but normal households don't have cold baths. In summer, some people might use a pool instead, but that's a pool, not a bath. Especially in this midwinter, there shouldn't be a cold bath. Why are you saying that?
Because we always had cold water at home.
Huh?
Mom says we can't use hot water. We've been wiping with wet towels in cold water. Even in summer, she says we can't use anything but water.
What?
Mom doesn't come home much. Sometimes she leaves food when she does, but mostly just leaves money and says, buy it yourself. She says we can't be extravagant because there's no money, and we rarely buy clothes. She never comes to parent-teacher meetings. She hasn't taken a bath in a long time, just wipes with cold water. That's normal, she says.
What is that?
Finally, my husband shouted. He had been silently listening to our granddaughter, but he couldn't contain his anger. I was speechless too. I knew being a single mother was tough, but this was beyond what I imagined.
Recently, there's always an unknown man at home.
What?
But he says I'm a nuisance, so Mom tells me to leave.
What did you say? I couldn't help but shout. It seems Isabella is drowning in men and neglecting her daughter Emma. And to top it off, she's kicking her out in the middle of winter. As I saw earlier, my granddaughter wore sandals in the cold, ones I recognized from the 100 yen shop. Probably unable to buy sneakers either, cutting back on food or something, my granddaughter must have purchased them herself. Her clothes were dirty and too small, so the story of not being able to buy them seems true.
I had nowhere to go, so I relied on my memory to come here. But I thought I might be a bother on a night like this, so I peeked inside from the garden.
What a situation. I was at a loss for words. My granddaughter is only 8 years old. To think she could think and act like this at 8 is amazing. Usually, this would be admirable, but tears overflow at the thought of a child being so desperate.
Understood.
He said quietly in a low voice. I understood. He was angry.
Emma, stay here with us. You'll have to change schools, but it'll be okay. You're strong. You'll adapt quickly to the new environment.
Here? What about Mom?
Don't worry about anything, Emma. You'll be happy with us.
Okay.
No matter how rudely treated, a child always longs for their parents. Especially after losing a father, the mother is more important than anything. Wanting to be loved is natural. Wanting to be together is ordinary. But this situation is neither natural nor ordinary. Even if it's someone my son loved, I will never forgive this. We agreed as a couple. The next day, my husband stormed into their house. I couldn't go because I was with Emma, but he told me what happened when he returned. Isabella was there when he arrived, and my husband forcefully entered the house.
Hey, don't just barge in like that.
I wouldn't enter a dump like this. I can't even enter.
My husband stopped at the entrance and turned to Isabella.
You've done quite a lot to Emma, huh? And kicking her out in midwinter. Do you understand that this is tantamount to a crime?
Oh, come on. I just told her to leave because she was bothering me. I never said she couldn't come back.
Do you think an 8-year-old understands that kind of thing?
She remained defiant despite the scolding. After arguing with my husband, Isabella called out a man. Seeing him, he seemed annoyed and left.
She was thrilled when I mentioned raising Emma here.
He said with a bitter expression. It seems she no longer has maternal instincts. And when he was about to leave, Isabella said,
Oh well, it's cold. Time for a bath.
He saw her flip the remote switch, so he unplugged the water heater outside. Naturally, there was no hot water, just cold water. My husband, who had been observing from outside for a while, returned after hearing Isabella scream, and hearing that.
It's so cold.
So, we got Isabella's permission. We'll proceed with various procedures through the lawyer we're relying on.
That sounds good. I nodded and looked at my granddaughter. Seeing her looking anxious, I patted her head to reassure her. Suddenly, my granddaughter burst into tears. What's wrong? Even so, is she crying because she wants to be by her mother's side after all? I hurriedly asked, and she replied,
Getting my head patted is the first time since Dad left. I'm happy.
Those words tightened my chest again. Do you still like Dad? To my question, my granddaughter nodded tearfully.
I want to see him.
What about Mom? There was no immediate response to that question. But after a while, she said, I don't like her.
Ever since Dad left, Mom has hardly been at home. I often wonder if she's my mom. She never patted my head or hugged me. She's so different from my friends' moms. But when Dad was here, he hugged me a lot, so I was okay. But now,
unable to bear it, I hugged her tightly.
I miss Dad.
Yeah, I know. Grandma misses him too. I continued to hold on to my granddaughter, who longed for her father, and cried. After that, the three of us started our life together. Despite the initial confusion from changing schools, she gradually settled down, and within a month, she became completely lively again. Her complexion improved, and she started to gain a little weight. She's still thin, but I think as long as we take it slow, she'll regain her health. Before we knew it, 3 months had passed living together. One day during dinner, we heard the doorbell ringing. Since it's an old house, there's no intercom. I headed towards the door thinking, who could it be? Then I heard a voice shouting, "Help!" I was surprised. Could someone have been attacked and run here for help? But there was something familiar about that voice. Could it be Isabella?
Yes. Hurry, open up.
Sure enough, when I opened the door, there stood Isabella with a pale face. What's wrong?
I need help. I have no money.
Huh? What's going on? My husband also came out.
I'm getting remarried.
I see. So why the cry for help?
But he has debts. And I can't marry him unless I pay them.
Oh. I see, it's about that.
I've already given up all my late husband's inheritance and all my savings. But it's still not enough. So please lend me some money. Because of the procedures you handled, I'm not getting child benefits anymore. Please help.
It's impossible. We're also living off pensions.
You can't wish for your granddaughter's happiness but not for your son's wife's happiness?
That's something a mother who truly loves her daughter would say. not someone sacrificing her daughter for her selfish desires.
His words made Isabella glare at him angrily. Ignoring her gaze, he took out a large envelope.
I conducted a little investigation.
Huh? An investigation?
Yes. I investigated the man for Isabella's sake.
What?
She was surprised. And so was I.
Well, I found out a few things.
Saying that, he showed her the investigation results.
What is this?
Well, it seems like a kind of marriage scam. He's quite a shady man.
That can't be true.
I'm not familiar with the underworld, but peering at the documents from the side, I could sense something was off. In other words, the man was using Isabella as a benefactor. The date of the investigation results was quite some time ago. So, despite claiming it's for Isabella's happiness, it's a lie. If we had known, we should have told her earlier, but we didn't.
Before you talk about marriage, make sure you don't get into debt.
She fell silent at my husband's words. Could it be?
I already did it.
Oh dear.
They said it wasn't enough, so I even sold the house.
What? Is this man really that charming? Perhaps now she feels she can't turn back.
But they said I can't get married without money. I don't even have enough for living expenses. Paying rent for this rundown apartment is tough. Please, I'm begging you, help me.
Even with all that said, my granddaughter, rubbing her sleepy eyes, came out.
Mom?
Emma, help me.
Isabella, eager to rush towards Emma, instead hurriedly hid behind my husband.
I was wrong, Mom. I'll break up with him. Let's live together from now on.
Then you'll get child benefits, won't you?
Yes. And I'll use that to find a new man again. Oh.
Oops, not quite. Isabella easily fell into the trap set by him. That's why she's so easily deceived by men.
Enough. You're unfit to be a mother. We'll take care of Emma with love and care.
But Emma wants to be with her mom, right?
My granddaughter, seeing her mother desperately cling, tilted her head in thought. For a moment, she looked behind her. In the living room ahead, there's a picture of her son hanging on the wall. I don't know if my granddaughter noticed it. But when she looked back at Isabella, her eyes were filled with determination.
I want Dad.
Huh?
I have lots of memories with Dad. I want to live in this house. I don't like Mom. I don't want to be with her.
Are you abandoning Mom?
I don't understand that. I'm sleepy. I'm going to bed.
Emma.
Bye, Mom.
With a yawn, my granddaughter returned to her room without looking back. Isabella stood there dumbfounded, her head hanging low.
Go home. Don't ever come back here again.
She left in a daze, without arguing against his words. After that, she disappeared from the apartment. Whether she followed that man or ran away from debt collectors, I don't know. All I know is that I probably won't ever see her again. My young granddaughter may not fully understand yet, but she doesn't seem to feel lonely without her mother. She smiles every day, which makes both me and him happy. When I go to the other side, there's a lot to report to our son, right, dear? When I said that to him, he replied,
Yeah.
Hearing this, Emma said,
No, you can't go yet. You have to stay healthy until I get married and have kids.
That's right. We still need to stay healthy and live a long life. I silently spoke to my son in my heart, asking him to watch over us and Emma from heaven. I felt like the sun in the photo was smiling. How was this story for you? Please subscribe to the channel as well. Well then, let's meet again in the next video.
I'm not giving you a penny of my retirement money.
My husband Sam shouted as soon as he came home and threw his bag at me. It was a shock to me as I greeted my husband Sam with a smile on my face as he had finally returned home after many years of working alone as he reached retirement age.
Divorce. Divorce now.
Divorce. I couldn't believe that Sam would make such a standing joke, and I felt a mixture of confusion, sadness, and despair, and my heart was breaking. I was shaking, but shortly after, I noticed a crumpled-up piece of paper in my bag. I unfolded the paper and saw the words, "Run away now." I was terrified and panicked. Panicked with fear, I turned around and what I saw was, "Maria, how is your back?"
Thanks to you, Natasha, the pain has gone away.
The same usual chat about nothing else. I, Natasha Smith, live with my husband Sam, but I am the only one who is actually at home, as Sam is traveling around the country on his own. Because Sam's mother, Maria, needs nursing care, I spend more time at Maria's house, a 10-minute walk away, than alone in our home. Olivia is Sam's sister, also lives at Maria's house, but Olivia seems to be busy, so I basically take care of Maria.
By the way, I wonder when Sam will come back.
Well, when he contacted me the other day, he said next weekend, but I don't know because his schedule often changes at the last minute.
He's on the verge of retirement, isn't he?
Sighing deeply, Maria slowly sips the tea I have made.
After all, the tea made by Natasha is delicious.
Thank you very much. Maria asks me for more tea, so I make her some tea again.
The tea the helper made me yesterday was so bad, so bad. I couldn't drink it very well.
Maria complains. Olivia had arranged for a helper to come several times a month, but Maria felt more comfortable having me take care of her. When we were newlyweds, Sam, who insisted on tea, beat me into shape quite a bit. I chuckled, remembering my husband as a young man. He would say, "It has to be tea leaves from England." I even thought he was British.
He's so weirdly hard-headed, once he decided, that's all he does.
Maria laughed happily and drank her second cup of tea neatly. I am troubled when asked if I am satisfied with my current life, but I do not feel bad because Maria has always been grateful to me to the point of overreacting. I cooked dinner, helped her bathe, and cleaned up as usual, and finally massaged her back before returning home. I was about to head to the bathroom to take care of myself when my cell phone rang. Hello.
Oh, Natasha. I got off work early today.
You. Good job. Speak of the devil, it was Sam who called me. Your mother was wondering when you were coming home.
I see you've been there today. Thanks.
Sam says apologetically. She seems to have a bad back these days, and she doesn't look so good.
I see. That worries me.
Sam groaned thoughtfully for a while, then painfully squeezed out a few words.
I don't think I'll be able to go home until I reach retirement age. I'm sorry, Natasha, and I'm worried about my mother, but please, do something.
Yeah, take it easy, Sam.
I'll call you if I can make it home.
We exchanged brief greetings and hung up the phone. I was a little relieved to hear Sam's voice, and I was ready to get back on the horse tomorrow. A few days later, I went to Maria's house as usual, and unusually, Olivia's car was there. I said to myself, "Oh, my Olivia is here today." Olivia, whom I saw only occasionally, would express her gratitude for taking care of Maria whenever we met, but from my point of view, she was still elusive and I was still uncomfortable with her. I unconsciously pulled back, and it was about time to use my duplicate key to enter the house when I heard Olivia's very loud voice.
I really feel great.
Olivia seemed to be on the phone with someone, giggling vulgarly.
You work like a slave just to say thank you. You're a bit too much.
Could it be me? Olivia's words made my heart skip a beat and I hid in the bathroom.
Slaves should be made to work like slaves.
Without seeming to pay any attention to Maria, Olivia seemed to head toward the front door with thudding footsteps. I heard the sound of a car starting as I stepped out of the bathroom, having lost the sound of Olivia's ha laughing voice. Thank God. She must have gone somewhere without noticing me. Relieved, I headed for Maria's room. Maria. But there was no answer from Maria, so I quietly went into her room. Maria was sleeping soundly, despite the fact that Olivia had been putting things up so much. I left the room without making a sound and decided to go home once I was done, even though it was the time she would normally be awake. When I visited Maria's house again a short time later, she was awake, but in a daze, and when I asked her about Olivia, she seemed not to have noticed. Maria was not a blur, her memory was strong, and she followed a regular rhythm of life, so I felt uncomfortable with the nature of her being asleep at midnight. That day I was so curious that I waited for Sam to finish work and decided to call him. Hello? Are you okay now?
Yeah, just getting settled in.
He seemed a little surprised because Sam always calls me when he does. I was just wondering. I explain a bit about Olivia and how Maria is doing.
Well, that's curious.
As I said this, Sam hurriedly added a few words as if to hide something.
I'm sure my mother is tired and different from usual, and even my sister was just in a bad mood.
I doubt that.
Oh, you think too much, Natasha.
Sam suddenly spoke quickly and hung up the phone early, saying that he had an early day tomorrow. It bothers me even more. I stood there with the phone in my hand for a while, feeling more and more bewildered. 3 months later, Sam was retiring and finally coming home after many years of working alone. Maria and I had agreed that we would all celebrate his retirement together at her house, so we had been preparing for it since noon. Sam had called me yesterday to tell me that he would be home at night, and just after dusk, I heard the front door, which had been locked, being rattled. Could it be Sam? I went to the front door, my face breaking into a smile as my anticipation grew. You're early. I greeted him with a big smile, but to my surprise, Sam threw the bag in his hand at me and shouted louder than I had ever heard him shout.
I'm not giving you $1 of my severance pay.
What's going on all of a sudden? Confused by the suddenness of the situation, I almost dropped the bag, but I grabbed it quickly and the contents flew out of the bag on the spur of the moment.
Divorce. Divorce me now.
Sam stares into my eyes with an urgent expression, as if appealing to me. Divorce. I almost stopped thinking as my legs trembled with the look on Sam's face, a look I had never seen before, and a turn of events I had never imagined. I was almost lost in thought. I didn't think Sam would make such a bad joke, and my heart was bursting with a mixture of confusion, sadness, and despair. As if to push me over the edge, Sam came at me with such heat that I thought he was going to spit fire from his mouth. As I was too overcome to move, Olivia appeared from behind Sam.
Hey Sam, it's not polite to tell Mrs. Natasha that you're suddenly divorcing her.
Sam didn't listen to Olivia's words, it's a divorce. He is just screaming, divorce.
You're a total handful, little brother. Ms. Natasha, I'm going to calm you down and see what you have to say. Can you wait?
Olivia grabbed Sam by the wrist and pulled him into the study in the back. I followed their backs with my eyes stunned. What do you mean? I looked down, completely unable to make sense of the situation, when I noticed a crumpled piece of paper among the items that had just popped out of my bag. I was curious to know why Sam, with his precious face, would be carrying around a crumpled piece of paper in his bag. I was curious, so I managed to unfold the crumpled piece of paper with a shaky hand. Oh! There, in Sam's scrawled handwriting, was a note that read, "Run away right now." Sam's scrawled words on the paper. Where did he say run away? Where did he say I should run to? From who? Panicked, I subconsciously scurried around, looking for Sam. Just as I turned my back, the door to the study opened with a start, and Olivia was about to jump on me.
Give them back. They're all mine.
Olivia rushed at me with her hair shaking and a devilish look on her face.
Run away. Natasha, please.
Sam desperately restrained the flailing Olivia from behind and shouted at me. You, nail me. I was so terrified that I was almost tangled up in my own head, and I moved my legs to the doorway.
It's not Natasha's fault.
Sam and Olivia are arguing loudly. Olivia is Olivia, yelling at me, thief and so on, yelling at me, but I pretend not to hear them and move my feet madly. I have never felt such a long way from the front door, I thought to myself, as if it were someone else's problem. I turned my head one last time, and what caught my eye was Maria looking blankly behind me at the two of them, the raging Olivia and Sam, who were trying to stop them. In the end, Sam never returned to our home after that. The day ended with me mulling things over in my coherent head. The next day, I calmly reflected on yesterday's events. What was that all about? I was desperate, and I said, "Run away now" had returned with a piece of paper with the words "run now" written on it, and I carefully stretched out the wrinkles that had been soggy. I wanted to think it was a dream, but this paper was the immovable proof that it was real. Does this mean I should divorce Sam? I've been working alone for many years and have rarely had a chance to see him in person, and the last time he called me, he was very curt. I had not thought that we would fall into one of those mature divorce scenarios that we see on TV these days, and I was starting to feel even more depressed. I don't feel like doing anything. I abandoned even thinking about it and looked up at the ceiling in a daze. Then, at the perfect moment, I received a call on my cell phone. Hello?
Hello, Natasha. Can you come over to my house now?
What? Yeah.
We'll all be waiting in the living room.
The phone was hung up. I hurried to Maria's house, wondering if my bad premonition had been confirmed by Sam's voice so dark that I thought he was a different person. Excuse me. Normally, Maria's house is easy to enter, but today, I felt as if I had entered the entrance to a labyrinth. When I entered the living room, Sam and Olivia were already sitting side by side, so I sat down reservedly next to Maria.
Natasha, I'm sorry I got you involved in our mess.
Sam's words came as a surprise to me, as I had been prepared to talk about divorce. That's okay, more importantly. What the hell happened? Sam had a hard but calm expression on her face, while Olivia kept glaring at me with a criminal stare.
You.
Sam took a deep breath and slowly opened her mouth.
Actually, it looks like my sister was trying to steal my severance package.
What? Sam's unexpected comment made me look at Olivia, who promptly bristled.
Don't talk to me like that. I'm not just asking you to pay back Mom's pension with that retirement money.
No, you're wrong, sister. How could that be?
I couldn't see the conversation at all, and just looked at their faces alternately.
No, it's not my fault. Natasha, you've been coming into our house while I'm gone and stealing your mother's pension, haven't you?
What? I would never do such a thing. I hastily deny Olivia's startling statement.
I've told you before, Natasha is not the kind of person who would do something like that.
Only these innocent-looking women have a dark side. You're being deceived.
Olivia said without any apology.
Natasha has been taking care of your mother for years, sacrificing her time and devoting herself to her.
Sam tried to convince Olivia to speak up, but Olivia ignored Sam's words.
And what's more, your mother's pension is actually gone. Even the pension that she kept at the altar, isn't it?
Olivia said triumphantly, and Sam and I looked at Maria at once.
Well, yeah, I couldn't go to the bank, so I put it all away.
Puzzled, Maria revealed that she had put the money away.
Look, it's definitely Natasha. I'm not even here anyway, and you can at least steal your mother's eyes easily.
Maria raised her eyebrows at Olivia, who was rude even to her own mother.
You, who don't do any work, and only let Natasha take care of the house, where in the world are you going?
Olivia's smile faded from her face, and she began to mumble a few unspoken words.
I'm looking for a job.
Completely weak-kneed, Olivia seemed to be desperately searching for some excuse.
It's no use lying to me. Even the day before yesterday, I got a call from a neighbor asking me if Olivia was okay, even though she was into slingshots.
Maria stared at Olivia with strong eyes.
What? You're looking at that wrong, aren't you?
Olivia is getting restless and shaking her head violently and poorly.
Come to think of it, your sister has always been a gambler. I'm sure I've warned you about it a lot since I was at my parents' house.
Shut up. I don't deserve to be blamed for just going to a slingshot once or twice.
Finally, perhaps unable to take it any longer, Olivia stands up and shakes her fist.
I've kept quiet for a long time, but I've lost count of the number of times I've gotten calls about you playing slingshots.
Then why didn't you just shut up and let me overlook it?
With a screeching sound, Olivia started banging out the desk.
Natasha is doing her best to take care of me, and I'm not going to overlook you playing around.
It's all your fault.
Staring at me with a snarl, Olivia tightened her right fist. I was so impressed by Olivia's impressive power that I could barely keep my mouth from flapping like a pathetic goldfish.
As my own daughter, I'm pathetic. Where did I go wrong in raising her?
Huh? Don't be silly. Who do you believe, me, the family of this house, or this woman?
Olivia is punching the desk with such force that she is about to break it.
Of course I'm going to believe the one who gave me a sincere effort.
Maria's words, which did not move at all, even when I saw a distraught Olivia, instantly blew away my fears.
I thought my sister had her own circumstances, so I came to talk to her, but I was disappointed. I am so sorry, Natasha.
What? Are you saying I'm the bad guy?
Maria put her hands on Olivia, who still did not give up.
By the way, Olivia, you said earlier that you have my pension saved in the altar. How did you know?
What? Because you're said. Oh wait, shit.
Seemingly unable to come up with even an excuse.
I don't remember telling Olivia where I put my pension.
You're old. You must have forgotten.
Olivia said bitterly, but it was clear from the light of day that this was impossible.
And I used to get unusually sleepy when I drank the water Olivia would sometimes pour for me.
Maria's remark rang a bell with me, so I told her about the incident we had run into earlier when Olivia had come home.
Sleeping pills.
Gulping down her anger, Sam turned to Olivia.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew there was something wrong with you because you always do nothing about me, but you always fill my water.
Maria pointed out, and Olivia was at a loss for words.
You're such a cold family. Have you no love for me?
Olivia, who should have lost her escape, still refused to back down.
I have no sympathy for you, taking people's money, leaving your mother to take care of others, and playing around.
After stating it crisply, Maria continued to speak.
You should be thankful that I didn't tell the police that you stole my pension and used it. That's how I'm going to get out of your hair.
Hearing this, Olivia snarled like an animal and sat down in her chair without effort.
I have to admit.
Olivia hung her head and began to blurt out a few words. How she had never married or worked, how she had taken advantage of Maria and enjoyed her freedom. She talked about how she had hit the jackpot at a pachinko game, and how she had gone in every day hoping to hit it again, and about her favorite host.
I honestly enjoyed taking care of the house. Natasha seemed happy to do it, and I didn't have to do it.
It turns out that I was, after all, the slave or whatever she was talking about on the phone earlier.
But I kept losing money at Slingshot. I didn't have any money, and I knew that my mother didn't like banks, so I would sneak her sleeping pills and scavenge for money.
The three of them looked at each other as Naoko spoke so selfishly.
I don't want to work like this. I want to live a free life, living off parents.
Olivia, I've spoiled you too much up to now.
Maria held her head in her hands as if to say, "It's my fault." In the end, after a discussion, Olivia moved out of her parents' house, and my husband and I moved in with her.
Natasha, I am so sorry about all this.
The move was completed quickly, and Maria bowed deeply to me at the right moment when she had settled down.
I'll go into an institution if you don't bother me anymore.
Maria says bitterly with an expression of mixed feelings of loneliness and guilt. Oh no, please don't apologize. My parents have already passed away, and I think of you, mother-in-law, as if she were my own mother.
Natasha.
So I am looking forward to living with your mother-in-law. Please let me continue to take care of her.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Maria was delighted, with big tears streaming from both her eyes. Sam is also shedding tears next to her.
Actually, I still have some more things I want to try. Natasha, will you and Sam help me too?
Maria changed from her earlier tears and asked with a mischievous smile, as if she were a child begging for help. Of course.
Oh, with pleasure.
The three of them laughed and began talking about what Maria wanted to do. Over the next few years, Sam's retirement money was used to fulfill Maria's wishes one by one. They spent the next few years fulfilling Maria's wishes with Sam's retirement money, going on trips, trying their hand at ceramics, and taking good pictures of themselves as young people. But the good times were short-lived, and Maria passed away with a happy smile on her face. Maria. Sam gently patted my shoulder as I mumbled, unable to contain my sadness.
We should at least invite your sister to the funeral.
Sam seemed to be trying to make amends by having Olivia say goodbye to me. On the day of the funeral, Olivia was there, but even from a distance she looked so gaunt and battered.
Olivia, she's turned into such a mess. Rumor in the neighborhood is that she still gambles and goes to hostels, even though she's in debt.
She's lost all her fancy dress.
Not at all. It's my mother's will, so it can't be helped. But I have to give you the remainder of my mother's estate.
Sam had a dumbfounded look on his face as he said, "I'm sure it will disappear to pay off the debt." You're right, your mother is very kind. Besides, she left us most of your estate in your will.
My mother thought of Natasha like a real daughter, and she will gratefully accept it.
Thank you, Mom. We stared at the tombstone, then I gingerly raised my face. I thought I saw Maria's face smiling peacefully against the blue sky. Did you enjoy this story? Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.